Yeah, no, it's going great. I'm uploading a deck profile every week. I'm hoping to do some more games when locals open up. Yeah, deck profile every week. Yeah, no, I've got enough cards. What do you mean I've run out of decks, mate? I've got a fair amount. Yeah, no, I think I'll be fine. I've got more than enough decks, really. No. You'll be surprised. No, trust me. No, I've got this. I've got more than enough decks to keep going every single week. No, I'm fine. Exodia, yeah, I've got Exodia. Eldritch, yeah, I've got that. BA, done that already. Salama Great, that's on there. Mermail, yeah, I haven't actually done a Mermail vid, but I'll be getting there. No, I've got more. There's more under my bed as well. Let me show you. Give me a minute. Hi guys, Fishko here. Today we've got a different deck profile for you. Today we've got Exodia. If you're like me, I want you to think about how you got into Yugioh as the game. As a kid, I watched the anime, I watched the shows, I woke up in the morning, went down, watched the Duel Monsters, watched GX, and I loved it. At the time, I didn't really know what it was. I just saw big monsters and big scary things and really enjoyed it. One of the key things I do remember from my childhood was loving Exodia. It was my favourite monster from Duel Monsters as a kid growing up. Then in GX I kind of liked the Volcanics and the frogs that arrived and the Daedalus monster. That's where my love of water monsters came from. But in the original anime it was Legendary Fisherman and Exodia were my two big bad love of my life monsters. Then I want you to think about how you play Yu-Gi-Oh! Do you play it just competitively or do you play it with your friends? I'm a bit of both. I love to play competitively. I go to regionals, I go to YCSs, I play like meta decks. I've got Eldritch, Samurai Great, Altar Guys. I've got basically every meta deck at the moment. But then I also like to play fun decks. I love playing things like Exodia. I play Penguins. I give myself water-only challenges. I do weird things with my game plans. I play 60-card Gizmech Chaos online locals for my friends. So I thought to break up, because we've had a few meta decks the past 2 weeks, I thought I'd do something a little bit different today. We've got Exodia. I very much like playing this deck. If you have any suggestions, guys, obviously leave a comment below. I'm more than happy to read through your suggestions, especially something as iconic as Exodia. We are using the Forbidden artwork because I just think it looks very cool and I'll have the full set, so I'm very happy to show that off. So obviously it's an Exodia deck, guys, so we're going to play one piece of every limb. They are limited to one. Contrary to popular belief, even if it was at 3, you wouldn't really play more than one piece because they are what we call a brick. In the words of Shannon Lilly, guys, who I respect as the other Exodia player in our locals, you don't really want to open them. You only want to open 1 or 2 and then a few cards to get your game plan set up. Then when your game plan is set up, you can get into finding other bits of your pieces. But yeah, we all know what Exodia does. If you find Exodia, all 5 pieces, you automatically win the duel. Not activated effects, they can't negate it with anything. It is a very fun gimmick. Moving on then to our recruiter cards. We've got 3 Sangan and 2 Witch of Black Forest. Basically, when these are sent from field to grave, you get to add an Exodia piece. It is simple as that. They are once per turn. The stipulation that the erratas don't actually affect Exodia because Exodia is not an effect. You don't activate the effect, so you can win via Exodia the turn you add the last piece with Sangan or Witch of the Black Forest. But yeah, they're pretty much our recruiter cards. We're going to get on to how we're going to support those in a minute. A few other monsters that we're going to play. We're going to play Tour Guide because on summon, she can summon a Sangan from the deck, and then we can go into a Link 2 play, which will then trigger the Sangan, so we're already getting 1 piece off of that. Tour Guide can be a bit problematic though in a deck because if it gets hit by a hand trap or if we've used something like Pot of Duality, obviously you can't use her effect. So again, this is how you've got to try and think through your combos. It's not a very linear deck. There are some easy ways to play this deck. I will not gonna lie, you can play just pure Mystic Mine Exodia, but a Recruiter Exodia is a little bit different. We are still trying to progress our game plan. We're playing 1 Silent Boots of the Phantom Knights, just because there's an interesting combo I figured out quite late on with this deck using some of the extra deck options. But it's quite nice. Basically, if you banish it from your grave, you can add a Phantom Knights spell or trap card. There's 1 key trap that we're going to add off this. If you draw it in your opening hand, it can be a bit annoying. So if you don't want to play it and you want to cut it for a more useful trap or another spell card, it is up to you. We are trying to play the best Exodia deck we can, guys, so I am playing 3 Pot of Extravagance. I understand this card is still relatively pricey, so don't worry. If you don't have 3, this one could be Upstart Goblin, this one could be 1 Day of Peace, and this one could be either another trap card or a spell card, up to you. Maybe things like Shard of Greed if you want to play a bit more of the stall game. Reckless Greed if you want to have that late draw, but obviously you are missing 2 of your turns for draw power. As it is though, Pot of Extravagance is probably one of the best spell cards in this deck because it is just 2 free cards. We don't have to banish anything From a deck like Pot of Desires, you don't want to play Desires in this deck because obviously you don't want to banish an Exodia piece. Pot of Extravagance. To go along with that, we've got 3 Pot of Duality. This is the only card that, again, conflicts with things like the Tour Guide. It can just let you dig deep into your deck. You can add either an Exodia piece if you're going to need it and you might win off the Pot of Duality. I have done that once before. You can add something like the Pot of Extravagance for next turn if you've got enough set up for that turn. You can add some of the other trap cards. You can add anything you need, which is relatively nice. And it doesn't conflict with Extravagance. Other spell cards, call me scummy, I don't really care. We're playing 3 Mystic Mine. We're not playing Pure Mines, we're not playing like God of Scold, we're not playing Field Barrier. We are just playing Mystic Mine because it is one of the best spell cards to just stun your opponent. We are inherently playing a weaker deck, we are playing Exodia. It's not exactly the most energetic deck with Turbo and Negate, so we need something to just give us a little bit of grind game. And Mystic Mine does that very well. We are then playing 3 Demise of the Land just to access the Mystic Mine. There is a fun thing we can do with Mystic Mine as well, I forgot to say. So if you go first, obviously you set the Demise of the Land, they normal summon you, they special summon, you flip a Metaverse or a Demise, you access the Mystic Mine, they're stuck. You can then normal summon your Sangan, attack into their monster. The monster should have more than 1,000 if it's a modern deck. Your Sangan will die, go to grave. Sangan's effect will trigger. They can't hand trap you because they're under Mystic Mine, and you can just add an Exodia piece. You can do this every single turn. This is how I've won most of my games. You Mystic Mine them, and you just ram your own recruiter monsters into their smallest big enough monster to trigger their effects. They can't negate you because of Mystic Mine, and you can just slowly add an Exodia piece every single turn. It's not the most interesting strategy, but it is a fun way of recruiting Exodia. We have 13 ways to access Exodia from a deck, either with Pot Duality, Tour Guide, or any of our recruiters. So it is quite a nifty little combo. Other spell cards, 1 Scapegoat, because this is either a chump block for 4 attacks, or it can be a link 4 or link 3 depending on what we need. And we're playing 1 Terraforming just to access Mystic Mine, especially when we want to go second. Otherwise, it is just simply deck thinning, so it's quite nice to just deck thin the deck by 1 and get your access. Other recruited cards, we've got 3 Sales Pitch. This was a really card I was very much interested in when it was announced. It came out, I think, was it Savage Strike? Let me just check. Nope, it was iGas. Ignition Salt, that's the one. Basically, when an opponent adds a card from their deck to the hand, you can add a card from your deck to hand. You just can't use its effects at turn. Same stipulation as Sangan. Again, we've already got around it that Exodia does not bother about this stipulation, so you can just add the last bit of Exodia and win that way. It's very nice. Basically, if your opponent just adds anything, you add 1 as well. You can play Trap Trick. I'm not playing Trap Trick in this deck, just maybe to trick this out in response to them searching a card. So they go activate Rotor, you Trap Trick this out, then on the resolution of Rotor you can Sales Pitch and add a piece. I'm not doing that because I have other traps as well I won't need to worry about. But if you want to play Trap Trick, maybe instead of Pot of Extravagance, you can as well. A fun thing of this is you can play Lilith. I did in that very early build, and say they know that you have a lot of pieces in your hand, you can Lilith out these and they just won't search the rest of the game. So something against like Necros or Heroes, that was just like game over for them because they need to search quite a lot to basically get their game plan going. And you can play mind games with your opponents. So I very much like this card, it's quite cool. Alternatively, if you're playing a normal deck, you can just Sales Pitch a Kaiju. So play 1 Kaiju in your main deck so that they have to think about what they're going to put on board and how many monsters they're going to have. Or Sphere Mode, etc. Other trap cards, 3 Wabuku, 2 Threatening Roar. Very simple stun cards. Been a staple in Exodia decks for years. Don't take any amount of damage. Your opponent can't declare an attack this turn. Pretty much buys your turn. See these as extra upstart goblins. Obviously against things that negate, they're not the best, so try and pop them up before they put a negate on. So if you know they're going to make a Savage, Boar Savage, flip up the Wabuku before they go into it just so you get that response. 3 Grand Horn of Heaven. This is my own spice. I've loved this card. I've played this card for years in other decks, even things like Salamangreat and Thunder Dragon when I played at Regionals. I have done this on some quite high players. Effectively, if it's Solemn Warning, but with an extra bit of kick. If they would special summon a monster, you can flip this, negate the summon, destroy it, and then they draw 1 card, and then they end that main phase. What that means is if you flip this in their main phase 1, they go straight to battle phase. You can avoid OTKs with this because they are basically going in battle phase with no monster on board. If you flip 2 in 1 turn, it skips both the main phase and main phase 2. It doesn't only say main phase 1. So I think it was I can't remember his name. The guy who came second at YCS 2018, I flipped this him at originals twice, so I skipped his entire time playing a Thunder Mirror. We found that quite funny. Yes, they get to draw a card, but if you do it on like a Link 3 or Link 4, they're losing value anyway. And as I've said, you are surviving an OTK, which can be quite a big thing to do with this deck, guys. It's not exactly the most speediest of decks. It is quite a slow to play deck, but it's almost that bit of fun. You're playing against a clock. One Metaverse, just again to access the Mystic Mine. If this was at 3, Mystic Mine would be a lot more problematic, but it'd be a lot more fun deck to play. And finally, one Fog Blade. This is just what we use with the Silent Boots, because we can normal summon Tour Guide, make the Tour Guide and Sangan into a Cherubini. Sangan's effect triggers, adds Exodia piece, Cherubini effect, send the Silent Boots, banish the Silent Boots, and you get yourself a Fog Blade. So off one Tour Guide, bear in mind, guys, this is only off one card, so you've still got 4 cards in your hand going first. You add an Exodia piece, so you're back to 5 cards in hand, and you get to set a bit of interruption. So you've actually gone +3, effectively, because you've got a Link 2, you've got a Trap card, and you've got another Exodia piece. So you've gone +2, I should say, because you're using the Tour Guide. So +2 off one Tour Guide is fine, especially in an Exodia deck where we need that sort of hand advantage. So that's a cool thing that you can do with the Fog Blade. Moving on then, guys, to our extra deck. We are playing Extravagant, so it will be a little bit funky, but we are going to be playing 3 Cherubini. I only have 2 just because I'm a BA player. I've never really bought 3 Cherubini, so there are some proxies in the extra deck as well, just because I didn't have certain amounts of certain cards. But yeah, as I've just explained, guys, Cherubini is really, really key if you've opened Tour Guide, because you can just go +2 for interruption and an Exodia piece, so that's really nice. It doesn't really matter if it dies a lot, because obviously we are playing Mystic Mine, so sometimes you activate the Mystic Mine, ram the Cherubini, because it will die, and then there'll be Mystic Mine locked. It's not the worst. We are playing 2 Wee Witch Apprentice. This is a very nice card because, again, you can do the same thing with like Tour Guide plus Witch of the Black Forest. Sometimes I do like Cherubini plus Witch of the Black Forest because they will trigger when you link summon. And then if this dies, you get to add back either an Exodia piece, you get to add back a Sangan, a Tour Guide, maybe a Witch of the Black Forest. There's a bunch of things you can add back, so this is quite nice. Then next we've got 2 Salomon Grey Armorage. I only own 1, so again, guys, for the proxy. Normal summon a Sangan, link it away, trigger the effect, add an Exodia piece. It's a very simple way of just grabbing a piece if you need it, if you just open a Sangan and like 4 spells or traps. 2 Space Insulator, so and 1 Link Spider and 1 Imduk. So these are just there for the scapegoat. And this can be 2 monsters if you've extravaganced away, say your witches and your cherubinis. You can just use the Tour Guide, the Sangan, or the Witch of the Black Forest into the Space Insulator. Sorry guys, I'm a bit slow today. Link Spider and Imduk are then again there just for the scapegoat. You can do some funky things with the Exodia pieces if you can't win by Exodia. So say you've lost like a piece to grave or something like that. You can start just linking up using the Link Spider, summon an Exodia piece from hand, make an Imduk, and then you've got like your link place and go from there. You can play, I was playing Equimax at one point. You might see, I don't know if it occurred in some of my videos, but like Cherubini into Equimax, and then maybe doing a scapegoat into like Space Insulator, things like that. You can make quite a big Equimax. 1 Ningirsu, this can be used just to send either a Sangan from your field to the grave to trigger its effect, to send one of theirs. You can send a Mystic Mine, it isn't doing anything. You can send a certain back row that isn't doing anything. Basically, it's just some spot removal using like the Space Insulator plus a Link Spider into a Ningirsu to start picking apart their board. It's quite nice. I just like this card because I like the art and the storyline it goes with. 1 Borreload. This could be a Boral Sword. It could be Access Code Talk if you have one. My Boral Sword, I think it's just in my BA deck. This could be anything you like. I quite like the Borreload because it's got sun protection. We're not necessarily going to be OTKing them with we're not necessarily going to be OTKing them with a Boral Sword. So the Scapegoat you can use with things like Land for Linkus I was playing at some point as well, or the Imduks. So it just makes this very simple. 1 Topologic Bomber Dragon. This is really nice because if you normal summon a Sangan to underneath it, the Sangan obviously will blow up, go to grave, and it'll blow up everything else in the main monster zone, and then it will trigger the Sangan effect. So you've got a little bit of like furthering again your recruiter game plan, but also disrupting your opponent's place, so it's quite nice. Plus it's a 3k beta that can do additional damage as well. The other Link 4 we are playing is finally Zeroboros, just because again if you can't win using the Exodia game plan, you just want to make a big thing and punch them in the face and try and disrupt them as much as possible. So yeah, guys, that was our Recruiter Exodia deck. I'm not going to showcase a side deck just because I do not have one built for this deck. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed our deck profile today. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Ficky Fish Go. We're almost at 300 subs, which would be a massive milestone. There are some key cards you can click up on the end of this video to either subscribe or just punch that like button. Team Sam style explosions, many things going off. Otherwise, guys, enjoy the rest of the videos. I've got some penguin ideas coming up soon. I did say on some Facebook groups that this week's video would be a penguin video. Unfortunately, the penguin synchro does not come out for another set, so please expect that video in the future. I've got some funky ideas in between. Otherwise, guys, thank you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.